Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Strategy Gaming Dojo, where we find, learn, and play the best strategy games. Right now, we are playing a Let's Play tutorial of AGEOD Civil War II. Now, this is episode number 5. In the first 4 episodes, we've gone over all of the basics, kind of how this game works. Make sure you go back and check those out. If you want to play this game at some point, we've hit all of the things you kind of need to know right at the start. We'll be getting into more advanced concepts as we go along, but now, we've really tutorialed quite a bit and let's play. Let's get into how we play the game. So let's check our messages as we always do. We've got a new turn here. So in the last turn, we took Fort Sumter. We can come down here. We took Fort Sumter with this Carolina department. So now these guys are sitting out here and they said, oh my goodness, General Beauregard has left us. So the minute he became the hero of Fort Sumter, Jefferson Davis and the Confederates moved Beauregard up here to form the Army of the Potomac. And as you can see, the Army of the Potomac is locked. They are getting into position. They're forming units. So they are locked, and as if we go over this, they are locked for the next 3 turns. So all of these units, you can see the manpower and the cohesion is very low. So they will be building up their forces over these next 3 turns before they're a in-fit, ready-to-go fighting force as the Army of the Potomac. Now, I can tell you that Beauregard is a very good defensive general. He's a 4-2-4. 4 is strategy. That's kind of that's a number that tells you how well he maneuvers, how he does, when setting up against the other general. It can, lead to better initiative where you get to take the first shot. A lot of these battles are abstracted. Um, you don't actually fight them. It's kind of like dice rolls after dice rolls based on force composition. I actually think it's very good as far as giving you results that are very realistic. Um, but anyway, back to Beauregard. He's a 4-2-4. So why does this keep popping up and down? There we go. So you see there, PGT Beauregard, 3-star general. He's a 4-2-4, means 4 strategic, 2 offensive, 4 defensive. So he's more of a defensive general, and that's how we're going to deploy him here at Manassas. For every turn he sits here at Manassas, he digs in another entrenchment level, and that's great. And he also has a better hide value, so the opponents, the Union, don't really know exactly what he's got. And he's also a fort defender. So this speeds up his entrenchment. So provides a 1 point siege bonus to the whole stack. This leader is in when defending in a fort and reduces 10% the time necessary to obtain the next entrenchment level. We're not in a fort per se, but we do like that 10% faster to get to the next entrenchment level. So he has moved up here after taking Sumter. We will go down and get his Carolina Department, or at least the group of men he used to lead called the Carolina Department, and get them as far north as fast as we can. We also saw that Joseph E. Johnston and Stonewall Jackson appeared over here in the Shenandoah. Johnston has been commissioned as another 3-star general, giving the Confederacy its second 3-star general. He's got a great cavalryman over here in Stonewall Jackson, who we will be pushing north to try to cut rail lines, mess around with the Union supplies. That's great. They've got a couple other brigades here, B's Brigade, Smith's Brigade. They've got some artillery. All that's good. They are sitting again in a command penalty because as the Confederates, as we look over here, same with Beauregard. He can lead up to 18. We are in a penalty because we cannot form these guys into divisions yet. It's a handicap the Confederates have at the start. of the war until October. In October, we will be able to form divisions, but until then, we're going to often be fighting with a penalty for command points. So we've got 18, we need 27. That's giving us a 33% penalty. Now, the penalty's capped at 35%, so we could bring in all the forces we want here because ultimately we're pretty much fighting at the biggest handicap possible. And just to point that out, if you look over here at the Union forces in Alexandria, and this gives us a chance to, kind of look at how you can see the other forces. Now, we have good recon on them, and it's because, they're one region away. We've probably got some spies and scouts and whatnot. So it seems like we know quite a bit about the composition of this army. It's led by Irvin McDowell. He is a three-star general for the Union. Um, They've got an artillery reserve, so on and so forth. If you look down here, it says also here. You can see divisions, first division, second through fifth out here. So they have been able to form their forces into divisions, which is a huge bonus, but it kind of is very historically accurate of the fact that the Union forces were a more professional force at the start, or how the army composition was. Now, you will also notice that McDowell's forces are showing 11 of 33, reserve artillery of 1133, and he's actually so they're building. They have not reached their peak efficiency. You can see over here on his tile that men and cohesion is very low. So they're building just like we're building. So hopefully we're not going to get a very quick surprise attack where they come to Manassas, um, because we want our forces to build up and to be as strong as possible when that comes. So now, let's go look at our messages. That's what happened last turn. We've still got all these generals down here. We might, push some of them north where we need them in these armies to get our command points looking better, or we may send some of them west. We'll decide here in a moment. So Union pulls out of the naval yard at Norfolk. We already knew that. We took this. We captured some guns. We captured some artillery and some heavy guns. These heavy guns are very nice. We also got some ammo. This is good. Any supplies you can get as the Confederates is great. So as we look across the tabs here, you can see all the forces that are in this region. So we've got Suffolk militia. This is what we sent over here to, quote unquote, capture this. It had been abandoned. We've now got this Chesapeake squadron. So we've got uh, another ironclad over here. That's great, and it's actually got an admiral who grades out at 432. So that's pretty good. He's got good seniority. Franklin Buchanan is an accomplished admiral. That will help because the Northern Navy will likely be operating here. They still have a big naval base here at Hampton Roads. So it's something we'll keep in mind for later. Gosport Arsenal. So we have an arsenal. This gave us some naval engineers. We'll deal with those later. The Norfolk Garrison. We kind of just got this for free by taking Norfolk, and that's wonderful. The more things we can get for free, the better. We've already talked about the guns. We'll probably be shifting them around before we play out the turn or hit next turn. Leading Tennessee leaders, they voted to secede. These are all the same ones. Arkansas, we saw these, but good to go over them again. We talked about this. Josiah Gorgeous has built some armories in the South. That will give us more war supply. Harper's Ferry. Okay, good. So we went through all those. Let's go down here and look at our messages. Uh, these in red will be ones that popped up over to our right. They're considered the most important ones. If we go down just a little bit like I did, it will now show all 39 messages. If you added these up, I bet you there are 39. If you want to see individual ones, so these are, we inflicted 5 hits to the enemy during the siege of Fort Sumter. Yes, we did because we ended up taking Fort Sumter. You can see newly arrived units here. You can see, movement. These are all movement and restriction orders. So when things become active that are locked, such as Joseph Johnston, that would show up here. Replacements and new units, we got nothing. Ownership, we captured 7 carts and 4 crates of ammunition when we took Sumter. We gained control of it. It is now in gray. We gained control of Harper's Ferry. Here again, when we took Norfolk, we took a bunch of supply and ammunition. Um, when you see something like this, the capture of Norfolk and Virginia has been welcomed by our citizens. That pops up our national morale, so that's good. We took over Norfolk, the Navy Yard. I guess there's a powder mill here. That distinction does not really matter. All it does is it cranks out more war supply. So, whether it's called an armory, a powder mill, whatever they want to call it, and we'll go into this as we look up here in the almanac here at some point, it's going to be cranking out war supply, and that's what we need. So we took the depot. The depot is how we got this, carts of ammunition and supply carts. So that's all good. The last one is various. The United States is. This will tell us sometimes our spies will tell us what's going on. It looks like the Union player or the AI did a requisition out in Erie, Ohio. I mean, that could be halfway interesting if it's near a border, and this will make the citizens of that region angry a little bit at the North or at the Union. So, we could maybe take advantage of that by putting demonstrations in there, something like that to kind of turn them to our side. We are building this telegraph line down in Charleston. We sold our cotton bales. That's great. That gave us more money. You can see here we're up to 1662. That's amazing. The demonstrations and Tatnall, Josiah Tatnall has been congratulated. He is one of our admirals. Let's go check out where he is. I do believe, oh, he's in Savannah. Is that right? Well, we're going to find out. Old Joe Tatnall. Yep, there he is, Josiah Tatnall. He is blinking, which generally means you can do something with him. Let's check this out. Fleet bombard. No, we don't want to do any fleet bombardment of our own city. Now he's in charge of the Georgia Squadron, which again, this is one of those raider ships that we can either run the blockade or maybe try to raid northern shipping a little bit. I can tell you what we'll try to do with him because he's pretty good, 421. Or I say he's pretty good. At least he's got something, right? It's better than sending them out here alone. We will try to put more of our blockade runners in here with Tatnall, and that will hopefully help them evade Union Navy. Um, okay, let's see. I don't think we really have too many more messages here. President Davis assigns General Beauregard to the new Army of the Potomac. We already knew that. Uh, we have mobilized. Oh gosh, I hate when it does that. Uh, we mobilized here our Eastern Army near Richmond. We also mobilized our army in the Shenandoah Valley. We've already talked about this. First CSA state militias are taking up arms. This is good. These are just free troops. We don't have to pay for them. They just pop up. So we've got one here in New Madrid militia. It hasn't built up yet. I think this builds up to maybe like an 8 or a 10 or a 15. Um, so those will be popping up and we'll be seeing those. We will also be buying them because I find militia in this game is very, very helpful. It keeps the northern cavalry from just running wild. If you have some guy, even if it's just a little militia, if you have them somewhere to keep some zone of control and to keep the Union kind of on their toes, because they won't know exactly how much you have in those forces. So I use a lot of militia and I spread them all over. Um, Called the volunteers. You've heard of the Tennessee volunteers. That's what these guys were. They stayed local. Generally, you want to keep them in their state. They're not going to really be, launching attacks into the north. but they're very helpful. New supply units received, that's great. That means we got some supply wagons for free. You see right here, that's a supply wagon. It's called One West Supplies. We'll probably put it right over here with this group of soldiers so we can start really building out that army when it becomes an army. Where's the other one? Oh, it's here in Richmond. So we've got one in Richmond. Let's click on Richmond, Generals, Pool. Interesting. I don't see it. Oh, there it is. CSA detachment. That's what things will be named until they become part of something. They're called detachments. So we've got one East supplies over here. We will be sending that north up here to one of our two main generals and giving some extra supply to them so in case they do get besieged, um, they come under attack, they've got enough supplies. Now, I will tell you, they will be getting supply. That's not a huge problem unless the Union cavalry gets up here to, let's say, Fredericksburg, or cuts us off here. That could be a problem in the Shenandoah. Generally, I take this 1E supply and send it to Johnston because Beauregard is in pretty good supply from the start. We can also take this. Later on, I'll tell you, we will be taking these supply wagons, attaching it to a general and, a couple of different divisions, and we'll be sending it up in here. So they'll be taking on, in Charleston, up in this Clarksburg, Charleston area. Now, because we did that, you see that we actually have got a new it's I don't want to call it an army. I think in general parlance, that's what you would call it. It's not an army, it's a force. We'll call them forces. That's what the game calls them. West Virginia Force under John B. Floyd. So we've got Floyd up here now that's kind of guarding this West Virginia pass. Um, this is an important part of the map. You cannot let the Northern Army, the Union Army, get down here to this rail line. If they do, as you can see, it essentially envelops your two main armies. The problem we have, some combat power out here. This is good. These are good troops. Floyd's Brigade 1 and 2, Virginia Cavalry. That's all great. We've got Wise's legions down here. Again, good troops. The problem is John B. Floyd is horrible. He's a terrible general. We've got to get him out of there. He's dispirited, so he's minus 25 um, to the cohesion. Now that's if he's the leader in command of the stack. So we've got to try to find another general to get to jump Floyd. Unfortunately, if I remember correctly, Floyd has a pretty decent. No, it's 73 seniority. We can get another general, and that's what we'll be doing. We'll be having Floyd go in full reverse here and maybe either go to Staunton or Charleston, West Virginia, set up shop there, and then get him replaced as the leader of these troops. Now, if we go a little further west, what do we got going on? We talked about that militia. I don't think anything else has shown up. Let's go to our almanac. So we've looked through the messages. Got a pretty good idea what's going on. Now let's look at, oh goodness, I hate when I do that. We're already looking at forces. Don't hit on the forces tab because it will break everything down. What generals do we have now? So we have Shelby, we know about him. The Memphis Squadron has an admiral. I don't think we really looked at that last time. We set up the Memphis Squadron, I think. No, we didn't. This is new. The Memphis Squadron's out here. Heck, let's just go take a look at it. Um, yep. So we've got here's the Memphis Squadron. It's under Hollins, George N. Hollins, who is a pretty darn good admiral. He is reckless, but he is a seaman. So I mean, he's good. He's going to be sitting right here at the neck of the Mississippi, trying to stop anything from the Union coming down. So okay, that's new. So that's great. Army of the Potomac, that's Beauregard. Shenandoah, that's Johnston. Chesapeake Squadron. We talked about that? Let's go look at the Chesapeake Squadron. Oh yeah, we have. Okay, so this is Buchanan that we just took at Norfolk. They just call it the Chesapeake Squadron. That's great that we have him. What else do we have going on? 61 Generals, Georgia Squadron. Okay, they're locked. This is Tatnall. So we've looked at pretty much all these. And then the West Virginia force. That's what we just looked at. This is Floyd. So we've got a new force on the board. We've got several new forces on the board. We got the West Virginians here. We've got Johnston here. We've still got our militia, our Winchester Garrison. Where is it, militia? Yeah, it's the Winchester militia up here in Harper's Ferry. We've got Beauregard here at Manassas. We've still got generals back here we're not doing anything with. We got new stuff here. So what do we do here? Um, so the way I play, I read all the messages. I figure out what's going on. We've done that. I like to look at the almanac. We've now looked at all forces that are being commanded. Now there may be some that are not being commanded. So let's get rid of the ones that are locked. Okay. So now this is everything that's locked. Let's look at combat power. So Carolina Department, they're still down at Fort Sumter. We just got these Norfolk guns. Virginia Squadron, that again is that naval force, or is it? Nope, this is different. Let's go to Richmond. Yep, we've got this force here, this Virginia Squadron, which we've got a nice big couple of light warships. That's good. So we've got two light warships now, a gunboat and one of these raider ships. So we're going to have to think about how we don't have a general for this. So, or an admiral, excuse me. We're going to probably have these guys sail down and join Buchanan. Um, let's make sure that none of these guys, plentiful, full, weak, high mobility. Movement shallow. That's what I thought. These guys can only operate uh, in light, so they cannot go out here outside of coastal hexes. And that's what I just wanted to make sure. I think the shallow gave it away. Um, Meanwhile, we've got these guys who can move in all water. See, so these are these raiders that we've looked at before that we've sent out to the blockade runs and done all that. Their movement is all water. But let's look at a gunboat. Um, Sorry, guess you have to click off and click on. There we go. This movement is just shallow. And then let's click on this. Uh, this is ocean restricted. So this actually has to move out once we get it going out into the ocean. But we will deal with the Navy at the end. I always deal with the Navy at the end. So we were looking through our almanac. Virginia Squadron, Mississippi Squadron. You know what? Let's take off. There we go. Now we've taken off the Navy, and we can see what we've got. This all makes sense, right? We've got our Carolina Department at Sumter, Norfolk Guns, Suffolk Militia, the Winchester Militia, the generals. We've got these two detachments, and we've got J.O. Shelby here. I will tell you the reason the West Virginia force is not showing up here is it is still locked. So if we go back up here to West Virginia, you maybe already saw this and noticed it, but he is locked. John B. Floyd and company. These are all locked for 3 turns. So basically, all the new stuff that showed up is locked for 3 turns. That's probably, going to be the general amount of time it takes for these things to form up once they reach a location and get to full strength. So great. Okay, we've now seen what we've got. These are all the things we can actually move. Um, let's go to the Carolina department because these guys we are going to want to take north. So let's zoom out a little bit. We've got them up, okay? We've got them, they'll stay here until we select something else. Let's bring these guys, uh, let's bring them to Richmond originally, okay? Now it's telling you this is going to take 272 days. Now let's certainly hope it doesn't take that long. And how are we going to avoid that? We're going to move them by rail where we can. Now that is going to take quite a bit of rail. If we take this off, 86, ooh, boy, that's a killer, especially early on. So I'm going to delete this all out. We're just going to go all the way back here and do this a different way. So now you see I just hit delete, delete, delete. I could have clicked on all those things. Um, let's move these guys. I think most of the time is getting them across here. Let's just put them, let's see how long it takes 26 days for these guys to get to back to Charleston. Wow. I wish we had some water transport out here, but we do not. One thing we're going to do is we're going to put them on defensive and a hold defensive. This is kind of my base case. When troops don't really have something they're doing or whatever, I always put them to a defensive posture so they're ready. And it's a strong defend. We don't want them just to automatically fall back. We hold it there. They will retreat if they have, if it is a superior force after a couple of turns. Um, we could put defend and retreat, but we don't want to retreat out of Charleston. So let's, make this a strong defend for Charleston. So now we move those guys over. I can't believe that's going to take 26 days, but in some sense that gives us time to get some more rail points. Um, and that will be helpful because that's just cutting in way too much to our rail. That's going to take 4 turns, 4 full turns. 60 days would be 4 full turns to get them up here. Yeah, no thanks. We're not going to do that. Okay, so CSA detachment, the one over here, that is our supplies. We're just going to have the supplies come over here to Memphis. So that's good. So Corinth just pumped out a supply train for us. That's fine. It's going to take 8 days. Uh, you know, we could move it by rail if we wanted to, but why do that? It's going to be over here next turn. There's nothing dangerous about, this is all Confederate held territory. It's all going to come over here. Um, let's look at our other. Oh, so this is our other supply train. For now, let's get it moving to Fredericksburg. That will be 1 turn. So we'll get it moving to Fredericksburg and then kind of decide where we want to go with it from there. Uh, the only thing that bothers me about that is if they made a cavalry run down here. You know what? Let's be a little more careful. Let's go to Lusa. Okay, perfect. 13 days. Can we get all the way to Charleston? No, that's 19 days. I try to keep everything under 15 days because then I can mess around with it next turn if I change my mind. We're going to have this go back this way. I was just afraid if the North makes this run here, to threaten Richmond or something, they could capture this. If we do it down here, they've got to get past us here, jump a river. Yeah, I just think this is a little safer. I don't even think they could get here in 13 days. So perfect. What else do we have? Nothing really. We still got J.O. Shelby sitting out here. We're going to continue doing that, mainly because most of our forces out here in Memphis are locked. We could give him, a cavalry force if it was, this cavalry force, but it's locked, and it's going to be locked a couple more, 3 more turns. So, Shelby's hanging out. One thing I haven't mentioned before is Beauregard over here. You see your armies. So he's formed the Army of Northern Virginia. You see his portrait here. You can always go to that army. When we form the army of the Shenandoah, it'll be the same with Johnston. His portrait will be here. It's a very easy way to get to your big armies. Oh, the other things that had popped up is we have these guns. Now we had to decide what we want to do with these guns. The North will eventually come down here and try to, retake Norfolk as they should. First of all, it's a great naval base. Second of all, it really threatens you by, almost turning the corner behind Richmond. If they can get back here so they're pushing both directions, it puts you in a quite a bit of trouble. So we're going to leave the guns here for now. We're actually going to, though, for this artillery, we're going to get this out of here and move it over to its own. Now, if we look at Norfolk guns again, this actually will give you a nice picture of what we can do if we wanted. So this is Howard's battalion. If we wanted this big gun here or the big artillery here to move with the supply, which we might, we could just take this supply, put it on top of its tab, and see now it's in that tab. And that's how you do it with these tabs. They're actually very intuitive once you get used to them. I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to move them separately. So I just pulled him out and it makes his own tab. Now we pick up the tab and say, why don't you go to Richmond when you can get there? It's going to take 28 days. And then Norfolk guns we're leaving around. Norfolk ammo. Oh, that's what we just. Yeah, okay. We just moved this artillery. Now let's take the supply wagon, and we're also going to have that supply wagon head towards Richmond. So we'll get those back to Richmond. For now, we're going to leave the guns, and we're going to leave our militia here, just in case they try to do a little attack across the way. Okay, so I think that that is kind of moving most of our parts. We are going to start buying troops in the next episode. As you see, we've got 1662 in cash. That's 1.6 million. We've got plenty amount of manpower, and we've got a lot of war supply right now. So, just as a sneak preview, you can see we've got a lot of different places we can buy troops. Last time it was just deep south because it was only those South Carolina troops we could buy. Now you're seeing Marines, infantry brigades for Virginia, which is actually some of what we're going to be buying. But if we click on all, we can buy cotton clads. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to go through here. Although I will tell you, it's not that difficult. We'll go through it. It's very simple to decide. I will buy one brigade before we go. It's the most powerful brigade that the Confederates have. It's a Virginia infantry brigade. If you look over to the right, it shows you all the way to the right. It shows you what this is made up of. It's got 5 infantry battalions, something called Zouaves. It's got a 6 pound artillery piece. It's got a 12 pound artillery piece, and it's got some cavalry. So that is one very, very powerful force. The best one we can buy. We're going to put it right there. And as you can see, now we're down to one. We could buy two. We're down to one right now. So you see here on map two, one's available. Their overall combat strength when they come up to strength will be 200. Then you see the construction cost. It costs approximately 200 money, 72 conscripts, 30 war supply, and it takes 60 days to completely build out. So it's going to take 4 turns for this thing to be an operational force. When we come back for the next episode, I'm going to tell you why I put this in Fredericksburg, and we'll go through what other things we want to buy, how much, we can buy here, and we'll go into that in the next episode. So thank you for joining me. As always, I really appreciated it. I hope you enjoy these episodes. I hope you enjoy this Let's Play. This is a great game. It's one of the great board games, and you can play it on the computer, which is fantastic because it does all the resolution for you. It's a WeGo game, which I really enjoy. But yeah, so I'm enjoying putting these together. Heck, I just get to play the game and talk a lot. What's wrong with that? So if you enjoyed it, subscribe down below. I always appreciate it. and I'll catch you next time on Strategy Gaming Dojo. Thanks again.